Hello and welcome to 52%, the show that talks about everything and anything going on in Liverpool and beyond from the perspective of 52% of the population, women. This time we're talking about sugar and spice, from the boom in baking to fine dining. We're finding out about the women who are hitting the heights of the food industry, and here's what's coming up on the show. Now with us today is Ceri Newton, an award-winning baker and businesswoman whose cake shop on the Wirral, Gorg'us, has been a huge success. Now, Ceri, tell us a little bit about Gorg'us and how it all came about.
It's something that I always wanted to do, always liked baking, always been a bit greedy and wanted to make my own. It was something I'd always thought about, but the opportunity just never came. And it wasn't until about 10 years ago when I was involved in an armed robbery in a bank and realised it wasn't a eureka moment or anything, but just gave me a different perspective on life and taking opportunities as they arose. So, yeah. That's when I did it.
One point before we go any further that I thought was really nice that you said earlier, we were talking about it and you were saying about your mum being a single mother and what you used to do every Saturday, and that's how you kind of got into baking.
She used to do the big bake on a Saturday afternoon. She worked in the post office in Neston where I grew up, and every Saturday afternoon we'd bake together, and she would use every scrap of everything. The pastry would be wafer thin and nothing would be wasted at all, and that had to last you all week. So I think that's where it came from. It's just something that's always been going on in the house and something I've liked to do myself.
So whereabouts on the Wirral are you then?
I'm based in Spittal, which is right by Bebbington.
And is that where you've been from day one? Did you just...
No, I opened the original shop in Bebbington Village, but it was just too small, unfortunately, and running two shops was too difficult. So I decided just to stick to one, the bigger shop where I did all the baking.
Did you ever expect it, sorry Cath, did you ever expect it to grow the way it did?
No, and to be honest, I don't think I thought anything at all. It was just something that I wanted to do. I didn't advertise. People thought I was going to be another estate agent. So yeah, it's just I didn't expect anything at all. I just wanted to make cakes and serve coffee in a nice, friendly environment. That's what I wanted to do. I didn't have, long-term goals or anything. Just did it really.
Yeah. I've been baking cakes for about a year, and the only ones I've really mastered are lemon drizzle cake, which is magnificent, and fruit cake. Have you got any tips for any new bakers?
I think it's all about air. Cake is all about air and getting as much air into them as you possibly can. So fruit, I'm not very successful with fruit cake, I have to say. So I applaud, I applaud you for that. My fruit tends to just drop to the bottom of. I turn it upside down, cut the top off, and there's your fruit cake.
Have you had like a total disaster with something, and you thought, right, I'm going to try this, and it's just gone totally wrong?
Like a wedding cake topping over.
Luckily, no. But the lucky thing for me is because it's mine, I can do whatever I want. Because I think about things all the time, or this would be nice, or that would be nice, or I wonder if that would be nice. And you tend to know, I think, what flavours are going to go together and what aren't. So I can just do it. If I worked for somebody else, I wouldn't be able to do this. Obviously, if something's really not that great, then I don't sell it. But
so do you come up with things yourself, or are they recipes you find?
I come up with things myself, yeah.
Just think, quite fancy. Like these over here, fancy throwing those together.
I see pictures of things, or somebody will say, oh, have you seen this? And there's Pinterest and all those things. But you can look to, when you do it day in and day out, when you look at a recipe, you think, do you know what, that's just not going to work. Yeah. And I do think people either add too much or leave things out of recipes, because if it was that easy, they'd all look like the picture in the book, wouldn't they?
They would, wouldn't they? Have you got a good team around you? Have you got quite a few staff?
Yes, I have got staff, and I'm training one young lady at the moment to help me bake, because right now I do all the baking and we supply other shops as well. So
Have you seen a rise in people, the demand for cakes and baking items since Bake Off and what have you?
Yes, it is, and everybody wants homemade now.
Yes.
People, you know, years ago, I remember you'd go into a coffee shop and everybody would have that, you know, the big warehouse cakes, and people just aren't interested in that anymore, or the cellophane wrapper things. People want homemade, and they do ask, is it made on the premises? Do you make it?
It's very on vogue, isn't it, to have, you know, afternoon tea, and you want to see it not look as perfect as it does on the pictures. It just looks better, doesn't it?
I think so.
And another thing that you've been looking at, which we're going to speak to you about in just a couple of moments, is obviously the big rise in gluten-free and allergies, and that's something you specialise in. But we have got another amazing woman who started a Merseyside food revolution, and that's Nisha Katona. She owns Mowgli on Bold Street. Now, Gaelle headed over to speak to her about what inspired her to be a full-time barrister to suddenly a working mum to then opening a restaurant.
Don't look for Wonder Woman anymore. We found her on Bold Street at Mowgli. Nisha Katona opened the Indian restaurant in 2014. She quickly became a businesswoman, managing one restaurant, opening a second one in Manchester a year later. All of this while being a wife and raising 2 teenagers. She also just published a new book, Pimp My Rice, and keep on giving advice on Twitter with her curry clinic that made her famous. How does she do it so successfully, even though she hasn't been to a culinary school and is actually a barrister?
I am, in fact I was, for 20 years, and I'm on sabbatical now, technically. I find it very hard to let go of that, because obviously I've worked very hard to be a barrister. And that has been what's defined me in many ways. But Mowgli was honestly, and I was just trying to write my biog today, and the words that I just kept coming back to, it was a kind of a nagging obsession. And it was not something that came from within me, it's a strange thing, but it was something that I felt I had to do, otherwise I wouldn't be meeting my full potential in life. It was I didn't want to give up the bar, I loved that. I didn't want to open a restaurant because all you hear is about how horrific it is. So why on earth would that be anybody's dream? But it came to the point where I thought, if I don't do this, I am seriously missing something, because, you know, at that time I was travelling to London to eat the kind of food that we serve in Mowgli, and that's not fair. Why is that fair on the whole of the north of England? And so I thought, well, if I'm obsessed with food like that, then I need to be able to serve it to other people and see if they are. I'm not a chef, and I will never be a chef. That's never going to be. I'm a cook, and a passionate cook, and I teach cooking. I have a YouTube channel, a cookery channel on YouTube. We've just filmed something for Food Network. I'm a food writer. I'm a cook. I'm an obsessive foodie, and I train every chef by hand extensively, and I will do that as long as I am part of Mowgli. I will always do that. So no, I don't cook in the kitchen, but I train every one of them. Whenever any chef comes in, I give them a whole philosophy about Indian food, and I give them a day or two of just teaching the basic foundations of Indian food. So even if they leave us, they will know how to cook this kind of food and what the formulas are. So I had no concept of business. I come from a family of doctors, my whole background are professionals. They have nothing but disdain for business, which is quite typical of Indian professionals. And we have no understanding of it, and it's not seen particularly as something of integrity. And it's really interesting coming into business as a woman. When I came to the bar, I was one of about 5 female barristers. I was the only Asian barrister, the first Asian barrister in Liverpool, Manchester even. And I, coming into business, have found the same proportion again. Bar changed, the majority of entrants are now women. You come to business functions and the vast majority, you are basically one of a handful of women. And I think people expect you to be going around with a vol au vents. You know, so business is a very different place, and you understand why, because business is hard. It is, in terms of hospitality and in terms of the food industry, it is perceived to be grueling. It is perceived to be the place that will destroy your relationships. It will destroy your ability to have or keep a family intact. And it doesn't have to be that way. It comes at a cost to not be that way, but it does not have to be that way.
Nisha is very successful with her career. She's also a full-time mother of 2 teenage girls. How does she keep a good work-life balance?
It is a balance, it's right, because within the 4 corners of being a mother, there is space for you to be a role model and show them that there is actually no limit to, if you have a dream to do something and there is a market for that dream, those 2 things must work in tandem. then you should do it. And what you should do is, if it's interfering with your home life, then hire people, be generous and hire people to fill those gaps that you can't do. I have the most incredible management team, and from the outset I aim to do that. And that, of course, it comes at a cost. But I have a great area manager, great general managers, great supervisors. I believe in investing in my people, because that way you can balance your home life. If what you have to do is sit on all your profits to even survive, then it's a tricky one, isn't it? And that's why you've got to really look at your business model and think, is it something that's got legs? Is it got some financial legs? Because what you don't want it to do is to destroy your home life. And I'm in my late 40s now, and what you realise, and I think if you speak to anyone that's older, you could be the most successful, the richest business person in the world, but if it's destroyed your home, then what was it for? And so as a woman, you hold those two, and we've got to get quite clever at doing that, but women need to know that you can do that. Hire the people in that will help you do that.
Welcome back, and this time we're talking about sugar and spice. From the boom in baking to fine dining, we're finding out about the women who are hitting the heights of the food industry. And we have here with us, of course, Ceri from Gorg'us on the Wirral. Now, something that we did just touch on just earlier was about the rise in gluten-free and the difference in how things have come about. Are you finding people are a lot more demanding over stuff and a lot more sort of picky over what they're coming in and asking for? And have you been able to cater for that?
Yes, they are. People wanting more and more free from foods, cakes especially, and some things you can translate into gluten-free, dairy-free, and some things you just can't. I do a lot of gluten-free stuff, but mainly because I'm completely selfish and I can't eat wheat anymore. So I developed a lot of things that are gluten-free. But dairy-free is difficult. Egg-free is impossible, really. I'm sure it's not impossible, but it is very difficult in baking. And more people now are wanting the gluten-free stuff.
What about free from calories? Have you tried that? I think you'd have a huge market.
I do say to people that once you cut them, they all fly out, the calories.
Oh, okay. Those ones over there, they're actually totally calorie free. Did you not know that? You can eat 10 of them and it won't matter, that's fine.
Brilliant. Funny, they're my favourites as well.
Now, both you and Nisha, who from Mowgli that we obviously caught up with earlier, you've both won awards for businesses. And one thing that we noticed whilst we were all watching that earlier was the point that it is a lot harder for women in business, isn't it? And it's particularly the side of not only trying to run the business, but balancing a family life. And it's still so much of this attitude that, oh, the women, it's the blokes who do this and blokes run businesses. While a woman is setting up the business, but she's still running a family. How have you found that with your family?
I find it quite difficult, to be honest, because I have to be at the business. My children are older now, and my business has been going for 8 years, but originally it was really hard. But I also think that women do it because I think they feel they've got something to prove, that they can do the business and nothing will suffer at home, and they still can do all the washing and the ironing and the school run and you do it. You do. You're perpetually tired, but you do it. I'm lucky that I've got a very good husband who does do a lot of things for me, but there are some things he can't do. He can't cook. And he
always learn. You could teach him to do.
He has tried. He has tried, to be fair, and I think a lot of it is as well because I'm a bit fussy, so he's almost afraid to try and make anything. But if it's something, heating something up, he'll do that, but not. Or he'd buy every ingredient from Asda if he saw a recipe or something, and you go home to Bedlam and you think it's just
£25.
To make beans on toast with a poached egg on top or something.
I do think as women though we do tend to sort of take over the areas we tend to think of as ours, when really we should give men a little bit more credit sometimes.
It's that old saying, isn't it? Women, we can't have it all as much as we try. As Nisha herself touched on, she employs people to fill the voids that she can't, which is a really, really good thing. I mean, she's so inspirational. I think she's the epitome of girl power, isn't she, Nisha?
But we don't ask men, oh, can you have it all? We just assume that they can. And, you know, I think that's, you know, we put ourselves down when it comes to that, to be honest.
I think it's finding the right balance, isn't it? And like you say, but with being a woman in business when you were setting up, how did you find people were with you, even like suppliers or anything? I mean, there's still that, as awful as it is, there's still that whole kind of, were you spoken down to as a bit like, oh, she's a little woman with a little shop. And I know that sounds awful, but unfortunately, that's the sort of area that you can be put into, but you've totally turned that around, as has Nisha.
I think originally, I suppose, they thought it was just a little shop until they saw what I was actually doing. When they, oh, it's just another little cafe, is what people described it as, and it's not a cafe at all. I never let anybody call it a cafe. Coffee shop, I don't mind, but I never liked cafe because we don't cook chips and we don't, you know, but it's not all about cake. We do lunch as well and afternoon tea and things, but the cake is what made us famous, I suppose, you know, in the area. But I think that the home balance and work is hard, and I think you do things, carry on doing things, because I think you feel guilty about not. Absolutely. You know, I still should be there making my daughter's tea for her. She's nearly 18, but I should be there doing it.
But
I still make a packed lunch.
Pressure on yourself,
don't you? Do, and because you don't want your children to ever feel that you push them to one side for the sake of your business. You still want to do everything for them that you did for my two sons who have left home now.
Yeah. I mean, I think with your kids, they don't remember the 25 million class services you sat through. They remember the one you missed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Remember when you missed that one, Mum? Well, I missed one in 10 years, but you remember that one. You don't remember when you sat there at all.
Our own worst enemies.
And it totally is. Do you think, back to the baking side of it, do you think it's coming back round about, again, the home cooking, because the likes of the British Bake Off and things like that? Do you think that's helped your business in some ways?
Yes, I do. Yeah, the last couple of years, it's the shops have become busier, and they come and say, "Oh, do you make that yourself? And how many eggs are in that?" They'll say, and they want to talk about how you make it. And I do workshops for people who want to learn. Not very often now, because to be honest, I'm usually I have to do them in the evening when the shop's closed, and I'm just tired, so I don't push things like that, and I want to be home with my husband and my daughter.
It's a good gift to buy somebody that,
though. It is, yeah, it's a nice,
if you've got a friend, it's a good gift to buy.
It was.
Do you look this fabulous when you're in the shop? Because
I do.
You do look absolutely. I love your dress.
Thank you.
The polka dot on the hair.
Have you seen her phone case? Her phone case matches the outfit. It's
like
brilliant style.
I love the vintage look. So where'd you get your frocks from?
Charity shops, eBay, anywhere really.
Do your children influence your outfits at all?
No, they don't, and they don't like to get involved in them very much. My daughter doesn't like to go shopping with me because she says I'm not particularly interested in clothes unless somebody's died in them.
Is this true though?
Yeah. Probably, yeah. If it's new, oh no, I'm not wearing that. It's new.
That's the heritage, doesn't it? Yeah, all that kind of thing.
Is that what you mean, into vintage?
Yeah. There's no story to that if it's hanging up in a shop.
I always get a bit of a physical high when I grab a bargain, something like that. So I'm well into the sort of second-hand charity shops.
I like,
brilliant.
They're not very cheap now, I have to say.
You have to hunt around for a bargain.
And it depends on the area you go to. I mean, if you go to the likes of, Cheshire, you're going to pay a lot more than you would in the likes of Birkenhead, aren't you? Yeah. And get a different class of designer as well.
I'll never forget the Kylie story with the gold hot pants. Yes. She got that when they £1.50 in Oxfam or something, and it was just like, I was like, get in there, Kylie. But I think you're quite a creative person in general, aren't you?
I am.
There's obviously, you can tell by your fashion sense, you can tell by obviously the cakes you make, but you love all like knitting and everything like
things,
that, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Cross-stitch, quilting, tapestry, French knotting, crochet, knitting.
You could just open your own design school. school of creativity, couldn't you?
I don't get much time now, but yeah, I do like doing all those, love doing all those things.
I can just picture being in your shop, having a nice brew with some cake, doing a bit of knitting.
Oh, lovely.
That'd be the perfect afternoon. And dressing up in your wardrobe, it'd just be amazing.
You could do that, how to be the perfect housewife. Of course,
Or not.
Or not, yeah.
Speak to my husband about
But
that.
it's so true that it's good because it's almost come back on trend to do something like this, isn't it? And I know, like, even my kids, you know, with the British, well, we try and bake at least once a week, and I make sure that they can cook proper meals and make sure that, but there's still that element of fun where they want to try things. And have you got sort of any advice for people, you know, who are like kind of thinking, like I think Cath touched on it earlier about, you know, any sort of do's and don'ts, anything that you could possibly give to people who are starting out?
I suppose the biggest do, or don't rather, in terms of cake is don't open the door. Don't open the door.
Oh,
yeah.
that's so tempting. Does it really stop it rising?
It doesn't. It makes it drop. It doesn't mind you opening the door. It doesn't like the slam when you close it again when you say it's not ready.
How important is it to preheat the oven? I always forget.
If you've got a fan oven, not really. It doesn't have to. You don't really have to
I'm more amazed
preheat
you use
it.
an oven.
It's probably shoe storage.
I wouldn't put a cake in stone cold oven. I'd put it in even just 5 minutes and it would be all right. Yeah.
My daughter she loves baking cakes. And if I ever saw an option where, you know, you do the holiday club things and they're always sporty, if I ever saw one for cake baking, I'd sign up straight away. My mum was very like you, and I think what you said before really resonated with me about you and your mum when you spend every Saturday. I remember doing that with my mum. And I think the way we live now, it's just so busy, and Saturdays we've got other things to do. So Olivia bakes with my mum, her nana, and she loves it, and that's where she's found her passion. So if you ever do those little schools for children, she's 11, I'd sign up straight away.
We do cupcake making parties for youngsters.
Okay.
Birthday parties, and then they have afternoon tea after with the...
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Because it's spending proper time with each other, isn't it? And that's why we always try and do it. And even, you know, we'll spend the time in the kitchen, or now we make a point of at least twice a week. Right, phones away, we're going for a walk, we're getting wrapped up, we're going out. Do you think, I know this is going off tangent a bit, but it's gone, the sort of family time, and it's phones, and I'm like, right, the phone's gone. The amount of times the phone's gone and then I forget where I've put it and they didn't get it back for a week. I'm like, where have I put it this time? But it's true, and you just think it's things like this that are the base of where your memories come from.
It's like sitting around the table and eating dinner.
Yeah.
It's so easy
Make
to be in
sure.
front of the telly with it on a tray in front of whatever it is you're watching.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, you know, what you're doing is taking us back to basics, and you've got to sit around the table.
And
It's
I
lovely.
think it's dead important that everyone, boys and girls, know how to bake and cook. You know, get a slow cooker, that costs that saves a fortune. You know, the thing is, if you know how to cook, you can live on a very low income and keep a healthy diet. But if you don't know how to cook, then processed food is not good, is
Well,
it?
there you go. We can come back to that again, but we will have to pause on this for a moment. But after the break, we're going to carry on the discussion and also find out a bit more about balancing life as a female restaurateur. Welcome back, and this time we're talking about sugar and spice. From the boom in baking to fine dining, we're finding out about the women who are hitting the heights of the food industry. Now, earlier in the programme, Gaelle met up with Nisha Katona, owner of Mowgli on Bold Street, and Gaelle continued the conversation with her. Just take a look at this.
The last publication from the Office for National Statistics about employment by occupation shows that only 19% of chefs in the UK are women.
Well, what chefs would say about that, and I have a number of female chefs, and I have a female general manager here, and I feel very strongly about the role of women in hospitality, in business. The reason is because of the hours. So if you have a restaurant, it tends to be open. We shut at 9:30, but it tends to be open till, well, even if it's open till 9:30, if you've got children at home, whichever way you cut it, those children will need their mother, and that is what they will default to. So there comes a point where you have to make a choice between what is right for your family and what is right for your work. And obviously, if you've chosen to have children, that is your primary job, man or woman, that is your primary job. And if you're out of the house until 11 o'clock at night, cleaning a kitchen down, it will destroy your family. And that's why you don't have many chefs who are female, because that's the way the role models have worked, isn't it? It's because the women are at home looking after the children. My experience, and I'm liberated, and I've been a barrister and I'm a businesswoman, my experience is actually still the same, is that the children will need their mother. And it's really hard for me to say that. I'm doing a talk for the Women's Organisation in March. And that biological truth is still a really, I don't know if I'm completely wrong in that, but that is my experience, that I've got 2 teenage girls and they need that female role model at the time when they need it most. You know, they're going through all kinds of things that are normal for teenagers and things that they, you know, are not inclined to necessarily talk to their father about. And I remember being the same. And it's horrible because you come across this brick wall of biological necessity. You know, you think you can be as liberated as you want, you come across this brick wall where your children, they fall over, they call for the mother. And that's the guilt that you can feel as a woman in business, or, you know, women doing long hours. What women bring to a kitchen that is absolutely infinitely valuable is they have a far shorter fuse. No, they have a longer fuse and a shorter ego and a longer fuse. I won't tolerate them. I tolerate most things. I don't tolerate any bullying, and I don't tolerate any temper loss in my kitchen. I will not have it because it doesn't help the kitchen, it doesn't help the people. It's not how I'm building this business. Women are a lot more cold-minded. They get on with it. There's a lot less ego. You ask them to do something, it doesn't suddenly grate against, you know, their, you know, some their testosterone isn't flowing over. I think men need to really watch the way they are in the kitchen. And what many chefs would say is that, oh, it's a hard job and it's long hours. Well, then don't do it. If it turns you into a creature like that, get out of hospitality. And what I'm finding with women is that they come in and they get on with it, really. There's not that kind of muscle flexing. In my Manchester thing, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 female chefs in the kitchen. Here we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 females that work here, yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is. Actually. Yeah, it is, and we will always support that. They're really, really valuable, and what I want to do is, they don't come in at a high level because we've not had that much time for female chefs. You know, I'm talking about as a nation. So what we do is we take them on at the lowest level and they rise. So we've got a girl here who was started as a KP, and to me she will become a chef. You know, she'll become one of my lines or Sue's, or for another Mowgli one day a head chef. This is what I want from these people.
But it is hard to find girls to work in the kitchen.
It is, and you know it is. It's the hours. It is the hours, and we can, whichever way you look at it, they are going to come across that. You know.
Isn't it like, I don't know, I'm thinking there has to be a way of like adapting, maybe doing like part-time, but again, like, are you completely fulfilled? Can you do that?
You can be, no, well that's right, isn't it? Because you're not, if you're part-time, you're not financially fulfilled, so it's seen as a kind of hobby. You know, the answer is, if you like, I'm food obsessed and I love cooking, and that's, you know, I earn money so that I can go and buy ingredients to cook. That's what I do. You know, if you like it, start your own business then, because because it is hard. The hours are long, and it's hard, dirty work. You know, you're literally over a stove. You go back smelling of curry house. If you don't want to do that, and one can understand why you don't, then open a business and have it so that it's your playground anyway, and give some other people employment. That's what I did. There's no way I could have done that job in the kitchen. There is no way I could have been a chef. And that's why I'm very, very pained to say I couldn't be a chef. I'm not a chef, but I am a cook.
What do you think? Is it possible for a woman to have a full-time position in the kitchen?
Now, the funny thing is, while that's been on, we've just been discussing, haven't we, about how over the years, I think there was a survey of children, wasn't there? And it's funny that obviously with Nisha being at Mowgli and it being Indian cuisine, that children were asked what their favourite English dish was. And was it chicken tikka masala they came back with? I mean,
it's not even a real dish, is it? Was it? Did I read somewhere that it was invented for the British palate? It's not even an Indian dish, or have I just made that up?
No, you haven't. No, I think it was in Birmingham something, wasn't it?
Or was it Glasgow? I think it might have been Glasgow. You
No,
know?
that was deep fried Mars bars.
Oh, I thought Elvis ate them. It's not American. But you see, my kids have very much grown up with they love roast dinners, they love sausage and mash, like toad in the hole. We've always had proper dinners and done things like that, and you know, an all-day breakfast, that's like a massive treat. It's
very
just
British.
Yeah,
Well, it's got Union Jack all the way through it, hasn't it?
Yeah. And do you think that's a good thing, or do you think, I don't know, do you think it's better that they experiment and they do different things and they eat different things?
I think, isn't it a bit of both?
I think you should try a bit of everything, really. Otherwise, you're never going to know what you like.
There's not many restaurants in the city now, especially Bold Street. It's like you can go to every corner of the world in Bold Street at the moment.
And everything is just like
Liverpool's
fantastic.
It's phenomenal.
From even 5 years ago, even going through town, there's so many top quality world-class restaurants now. But ultimately, I always go back to egg and chips. That's me. That's the ultimate.
In the egg.
You know, I'm 11, 12 years old again. I'm at my mum's kitchen table and I'm eating egg and chips. And there's all that, you know, like plastic bread, isn't it? And but that's the ultimate sort of comfort food, isn't it? But I'll eat anything really. I don't eat meat, but I'll eat anything else.
No, you don't eat, because we've just been having a bit of a discussion about it. You don't like fruit in food,
I
do you?
not like fruit in savoury food.
You see,
if
I
you get
love
curry
it.
with a bit of raisin in, what's all that about?
Sultanas.
Well, I don't eat meat, so I won't go near it anyway. I won't go near it. But honestly, fruit in savoury food is just wrong. All corn.
Pizzas? 3 a.m, ton of gin. You want to have ham and pineapple pizza?
No, I'd have to pick the ham off, wouldn't I?
You see, I'll just have the ton of gin. Going wrong. But it's funny you should say that, because I don't eat a lot of spicy food, and I went to Matau, it's, on the front of the Thai restaurant, and everyone was like, oh, you love it there. I got in and completely bottled it and had pineapple fried rice, which was very nice. But it was really, really nice. Everyone was like, what are you doing?
I would have to leave.
I think the manager was looking at me as if to say, please have something with it. I went, no, this is lovely. I really like this.
It's fish for me. I don't like fish. I've just been to Nobu, not realising that 90% of the menu is fish.
See, I love
and
fish.
Cold fish at that.
Oh, sushi. Sushi, can't beat a bit of sushi.
It's all right, but not for the whole meal. Every course was cold fish.
Was the oven not working that day? Do you think that, like, sort of as time's going on, because there's still so many programmes with the likes of Gordon Ramsay on and Jamie Oliver, and then you've got James Martin, you've got all of them. Do you think the likes, because of Mary Berry and Nigella Lawson, do you think women are being taken more seriously for not just baking as proper cooks? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think as far as television and things go, yes, and in restaurants, there are more and more female chefs now. But I think in the home, I think predominantly it's still the women that do all the cooking. I think women are better known as cooks than as chefs.
I mean, around here, who do you think, can you both cook? Are you good at
It's
cooking?
only me.
Yeah.
So I eat out a lot.
But I enjoy cooking, you see. I really enjoy it. It's one of the whole chopping, mixing and all that. I love it all. So I do like 99.9% of the cooking in the house. But it's because I really enjoy it. If I didn't like it, I'd have my husband doing his version. But I just love it because I find it very relaxing.
No, you're right.
It's a stress buster for me.
Yeah.
To touch on what you said then though, Claire, about Nigella and Mary Berry and what have you, and then we spoke about the male chefs. And this really infuriates me, when you see a comedy sketch, they always sexualise Nigella, but you never see that about the male chefs. They always make her really erotic, and I get why they do it, but you never see them do that about the male chefs, and it winds me up.
They just wouldn't. That's a really, really good point.
All you get about Gordon is the bad language, but he does actually swear. Whereas I'm sure when Nigella's doing whatever she's doing, she's not deliberately being sexual, is she?
No. Or do you think she is, and she's doing that to play on it?
Yeah,
because she knows
becoming
that's
a
what
parody
people
of
like
herself
for.
almost.
Yeah.
Who knows? But it's just interesting the way that the male and the female cooks, chefs, whatever phrase you want to use, are seen to their peers.
I mean, would a female cook or chef get her own TV show if she wasn't beautiful, had cheekbones like with mirrors and a fabulous figure? You know, could she be like a female version of Gordon Ramsay, who's not, I'm sure his wife thinks he's, gorgeous, but, the female version of him wouldn't be acceptable on TV, slightly overweight, shiny face, grumpy.
I'm sure I'd be delighted.
Could a woman chef be be grumpy on the TV. No, that wouldn't be acceptable.
No, exactly.
You know.
Well, there you go. There's that one. I'm thinking of shiny face Gordon now. After we get back, we're going to be talking not about shiny face Gordon, but about what's trending this week. So make sure that you stay here with us. Welcome back, and this episode we've been talking about sugar and spice and all things nice. But as usual, this is the time in the programme where we get topical and talk about what's been trending. Now, yesterday we heard the horrendous news, in fact it was earlier in the week, we heard the horrendous news about a young band, obviously, Viola Beach, tragic accident. Cath, I know that you've written quite an intensive article about this, so I don't know if you'd like to give your thoughts on the situation.
Yeah, obviously with them being so young, 4 boys, and also the 35-year-old manager died in a car crash in Stockholm, Sweden. It was just such a shock, and because they were showing such promise to release 2 singles to great critical acclaim, the Stockholm show was the first show they did abroad, so that's just evidence in itself that how well they were doing. They're supporting Blossoms well into next month. They had South by Southwest in Texas, a gig in March, and also they were coming back to Sound City, a promising future, and it's just all been a great indie pop band, great tunes, summertime sort of Californian, but with a great northern swagger, and it's just such a shame because we've got so many really good bands coming from Northwest. They're from Warrington, they were from Warrington obviously, but there's such a good vibe happening on the indie scene at the moment, and to have these young men who just, obviously had a great future ahead of them, to have it all snuffed out is just heartbreaking. And I know that word gets used a lot, doesn't it, when people die, but it upset me an awful lot. I know a lot of the local music industry and music fans are really, really, in a bit of a dark place because it is incredibly sad.
It's such a waste of time. I mean, there's not a lot of things that you look at and it really properly shocks you, but the images of the car being lifted out literally made me sit, when you almost bring your breath in when you see it and you think, how can that have happened? And how did it happen?
They don't know yet, do they?
It's just absolutely horrendous.
But I mean, I find it very distasteful that people were copying and pasting pictures of that car and putting it on Facebook and Twitter yesterday, and I thought, have some respect. These are young men, they've got mums and dads, girlfriends, probably families, have some respect. They've died, listen to one of their songs, download the new single instead.
I think everyone was trying to get to #1 and things like that.
A bit more respectful, I think.
I mean, there's a newsreader that I've known for many years, and she was down at the scene, and one of the girlfriends was there, and she said it was just the most heartbreaking moment of her whole career of 20 years of radio, with one of the girlfriends just breaking down. And like you said, people posting images of stuff like that. Yeah. Celebrate their music and their life. Don't celebrate what's gone on around it. Speaking of celebrating, do we or don't we celebrate Valentine's Day? What's our thoughts on it?
It's a load of tosh.
It's a load of tosh. I agree with you.
Do you know what though? Don't you think when you get to a certain age, or maybe it's just me, I think if you're in a relationship and the person that you're with, you've been with them and you know they love you and you love them, why do you need one day for you to post what you've got, stick it on Facebook and Twitter, and so all your friends can give you all the likes? To me, that's all it's become now. It's just who got the most likes.
Yes, it's ridiculous.
I think if you're in a relationship, you should do something nice every day. But I've always thought Valentine's Day is for people who are either very early stages, or you fancy someone and you send them an anonymous card.
Or you're 12.
It's not for people who are in long-term relationships to go on very expensive dinners, spend lots of money, and as you say, show off to everyone about how in love they are.
Though, if I didn't get a card yesterday, I'd be fuming.
Do you know what? Just slightly away from Valentine's Day, you put one of my favourite statuses on Facebook I have seen in a long time, and I nearly rang you because I was like, I love that. You put, people who are in a happy relationship, you don't read about it on Facebook. And I just thought, thank goodness for that. I mean, maybe it's because I'm single and it's very nice. And yes, I put pictures of my kids constantly on there because the things we do together. And I think that's a different relationship. I don't want to see my middle-aged friends slopping all over their partner. Do you know what I mean?
My one.
Yeah, if I see one more person put me and my beau. Oh,
no, it's Bay. Hashtag Bay.
Oh, it does
what
my head
even
in.
is that?
Oh, I've no idea. I had quite a good theory though this week, because with it being Sunday, Valentine's Day, I was all cocky with myself going to the kids. Well, you see, the good thing is with it being Sunday, don't have to avoid the post. There's no post. So then my 12-year-old son turns round, quick as a flash, Michael, he goes to me, yeah, but Mum, if they really want to send you a Valentine, they'll make sure it arrives on the Saturday. Thanks for that.
He's a hard maker, isn't he?
Ready to go, child.
Yeah. I was like, thanks for that. Yeah. So yeah, Valentine's Day, did we do that? And you didn't bake a
Hit
nice
or miss?
heart-shaped
No, I
cake?
didn't. Did none of that. I was wrapping Liverpool in love yesterday.
Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, tell us a little bit
on
about
Sunday.
that.
Yeah, a friend of mine, Michelle Langan, started a group to wrap Liverpool in love. She collected scarves, and the children of Merchant Taylor School wrote little messages, and we pinned them on the scarf and we tied them all around Liverpool for the homeless people to take, or for people to give to a homeless person that they know. So it was lovely. It was nice to do something like that, and think of love for Valentine's Day in a different way.
That is a brilliant spin. Spin on it, yeah. I love that.
Now, Lisa's been on her soapbox a bit this week. We like it when Lisa gets riled over something. Adam Johnson.
Oh,
come on.
You see, we've heard a few of these, haven't we? You know, the footballers being charged with rape or sexual assault or grooming. And yet again, this is another footballer who he hasn't asked to be put on a pedestal, let's make that clear. He's just got a talent, and he's able to use that talent, and obviously he's televised, therefore he's known. And it would seem that he's used his talents in other areas to entice young girl or girls, maybe there's more, who knows, but one particular young girl, 15, isn't she? And now he's in court, and he's already admitted to the grooming. And it's just another example of somebody who's put in a position of trust. Whether they like it or not, they have to accept the fact they are in the public eye and act accordingly and act responsibly. He knew she was 15, and he chose to ignore that. Now, if she looks older than her age and acts older than her age, does that mean he should reciprocate the advances, or should he take the moral high ground and be the adult and back off?
I think a 15-year-old...
If he knows.
I think a 15-year-old acts like a 15-year-old. I've worked in schools and with young people, and you can tell when someone's 15. There's no such thing as a mature 15-year-old.
Yeah.
You know, they giggle and they can be quite annoying, and it's very obvious a 15-year-old. I mean, and to be honest, if you're in a friendship, shall we say, you would establish how old the young woman was. You know, she was a girl, 15 years of age, and I don't think you can say, oh, she looked older. That's just, I never believe that line, you know, because 15-year-olds look 15. They always do.
I mean, if you think back to when we were all 15, I would go out of my way to plaster the foundation on, the eyeliner. So if you see what the girls now, they don't have to go to Mac in town. They pay £15, they get the face done. You know, they're all a lot more developed than we were. So I think I disagree with you a little bit there. I think some 15-year-olds do look physically older than 15, but when they open their mouth or maybe their behaviour, that's when you get to see the naivety of them, and you realise, hang on a minute, she can't be 18 or 19.
But at the end of the day, the second somebody, as you say, in the public eye, knows someone is that age, you knock it on the head. There is absolutely
rightly or wrong, no matter who made the advances.
Exactly, it has to be. And you know, I've seen in the past that obviously my ex was a footballer, and I've seen how they are put into this world where they think they are invincible. So I'm not sitting defending Adam Johnson in any way, shape or form, as I'm not commenting on that. But what I'm saying is footballers are put in a bubble where you know, when I used to go on holiday, my ex didn't have a clue what to do in the airport. He didn't know where to go. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to get through passport control because he'd had everything done for him. Now, I'm not making excuses. What I'm saying is that they are made to believe they are untouchable.
There's no right or wrong.
Yeah, there's no wrong. It's like, whatever you do, you'll be fine. We'll clear it all up for you. It's like they come along and sweep everything under the carpet and everything's all rosy because they're a footballer. And in some ways, he's probably thought, 15, somebody will clear that mess up. You know, you don't know what's been going through his head, and it's totally unacceptable. But he's been maybe in a world where...
Conversely though, you know, you do have girls out there who, they want to be the next Victoria Beckham, Colleen Rooney, Alex Gerrard, and they set their sights on becoming a WAG. And how do you do that? You need to get, you know, a footballer, a rugby player. It's the easiest way to live a lifestyle. I'm not saying for women that's what this young girl's done, but there are
But we know of
girls.
cases where they are, and maybe this is where footballers have got to start, and people in that profession have got to start taking more responsibility for their own actions, because at the end of the day, they've only got themselves to blame. You know, if they get themselves involved with cases like you mentioned, of like rape allegations or anything like that, it doesn't matter what they've been set up to do, whether somebody set out to frame them, whether somebody set out, they've put themselves in that situation.
As soon as they know how old the girl is, that's it, isn't it?
Exactly.
Game over, really.
You've always
isn't it?
got to think of your actions.
We all need to be protecting young women,
It
young
frightens
girls.
me. We've both got young daughters, and it frightens me, you know, that what my daughter could potentially innocently end up in a situation where, you know, who knows what could happen. It doesn't help though when you see these footballers and their girlfriends stand by them.
I know. It just
It's
leaves
like,
no
well,
respect.
Is that because there's been a massive miscarriage of justice, or they don't want to lose a lifestyle? Sorry to be cynical.
No, I saw it a lot of times, and it'd be like they'd turn a blind eye.
Yeah.
Because it'd be like, oh, we've got this beautiful house in Wilmslow. I'm going to turn a blind eye to the fact there's a girl sat on my husband's knee in the other room. And I'd be like,
And what examples that setting our daughters?
Absolutely not. And you know what? All the money they're getting, and something else that I do want to quickly move on to, because we were talking to Ceri about it, when you think of the money they are paid to be in that position, and yet we've got junior doctors in this country having to strike when they're saving people's lives, and they're getting all these extra hours thrown at them. And they're almost being made a mockery, not a mockery of, but people are almost condoning them for striking to try and earn a bit of money when they're having things, you know, that these people's, our lives are in their hands of overworked, stressed out doctors.
It's not even just the money though, is it?
No,
It's the hours.
Yes.
And how we all, as an employer myself, I know that people have to have breaks, but doctors for some reason are not allowed them.
No. There's a close family member, her father has almost lost his life due to lack of staff, NHS staff. That's how badly run it is. And if you ran it as a business, it wouldn't be run like this. It's horrific.
We shouldn't have
and sad.
Yeah, we should have more respect for like public servants of all kinds, with the teachers, doctors,
fire,
because they do deserve our respect. And if you know, even like doctors, they get well paid, but they deserve every single penny.
Absolutely everything. Well, I can't thank you enough for your being. I don't think there's anything we haven't covered today, do we? Let's get some cake. That's all. That's all we've got time for today. We're having some brownies, and we'll see you next time here on 52%.